beauties, and welcome to another video. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Shaquita. If you are new, welcome. On today's video, we will be doing a nice beach less is more video, so like a part 2 of the video that I did on Tuesday. If you have not watched that video, I got you. It'll be linked in the description box below. And also, if I failed to mention any products in this video, don't fret, it'll be in the description box below also. And yeah, let's get started. Oh, oh, oh. So automatically when I think of yellow, I always gravitate towards Juvia's Zulu palette, and which is this yellow right here. I always gravitate towards these two colors right here. I'm gonna dip into the yellow first, and then we're gonna dip into the brown shade. My eyelids are already prepped using the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define, and I use the shade C12. I'm going to start with those two. I'm going to start with the yellow first. This palette doesn't have names, but you know, yellow is kind of like right there. So yeah, and my goal in this video is to not say the word so many times, because I find myself doing that as a filler, especially when I can't think of what to say. See, I was getting ready to say it just then. And if you see me looking up, it's because I'm looking at the mirror at the same time. So yeah, trying to like multitask here for the sake of the video. And I am using my Morphe M504 brush to apply the yellow. Hey y'all, so what I'm doing now is just applying the yellow shade from the Zulu palette. I decided to do a voiceover because I realized that my video was getting pretty lengthy, so in order to go down on some of the time, I decided to do a voiceover in the video. So yeah, I'm gonna talk to you for a little bit. So again, just applying the yellow shade, and yes, I am aware I just said the word so. Applying that, as you can see, that Makeup Revolution concealer really allowed for the yellow to pop, in my opinion. Yes, it would have popped on its own, but because it's a lighter color, I believe, and I also chose a lighter concealer, I believe it helped for that yellow to pop even more. So that's just a FYI for all of my brown sisters, where you know you really want those colors to pop on your lid. I would suggest using a lighter concealer, but just please be aware, make sure it's a look where you're using your whole entire lid, which is what I plan on doing with this look. And just keep building until you get the desired pigmentation. Now I am going into the brown shade in that Zulu palette, and I just want to keep it on the outer V, working it into my crease. And those will be the only two colors that I'll be using as my base color before I start to cut my crease. So sorry about that. I know I said that I'll only be using 2 shades before I cut my crease. Well, I'm sorry, I lied. Actually, there's 3, which is that brown shade that you just saw. I'm grabbing my Wet n Wild pencil brush to make sure that I love the pencil brushes because it's a very detailed like brush, and as you can see, it works perfectly right into the crease. And I just applied that shade to give the look some dimension, some depth. So as you can see, it's almost like I'm going each layer darker with the yellow, with that copper color, and now with the brown shade. and just go and keep going until you deepen it up. As you can see, I'm not too much touching my outer V. I'm just applying it directly into that crease, and you just keep going until you get the desired darkness. And then you go and you blend the top of that out. I'm not going lower than that because I don't want to take away from that dark brown. And this is just a brush from the previous shade. Now it is time to cut my crease, and I'm cutting my crease with my ColourPop No Filter Concealer, and this is in the shade Medium 20. And the reason why I look up like that is because, as you can see, it gives me a marker to know how high up to cut my crease. So try that. I hope it works for you, and it always gives me the perfect cut crease. Now I'm just spreading the concealer, starting from the top and then dragging it down. I learned that from Face Captions here on YouTube. His name is Nikita. I forgot his last name, but I'll put it in the description box below. And that's why it's just good to start very little. That way, you know, you'll give a chance for the concealer to kind of like get tacky. That way your eyeshadow can basically adhere to that concealer, and you'll get a nice solid look. Okay, and applying to that concealer, pressing into that concealer, I am pressing that yellow shade that we started with. That is going on that area where I cut the crease, and you just want to pack it on as much as you can, even if you have to dig into the yellow to be able to get a nice, good, vibrant payoff. And just packing it on, packing it on. And you just want to also be careful with this because you don't want to run into those crease colors. Just making everything neat and tidy. Now I am going in with that copper shade on the other brush. I know I use quite a bit of brushes, but I'm just applying that copper shade out of the Zulu palette, and I am just basically kind of like making a gradient effect, a fading effect from the yellow to the brown. And I did add a little bit more of the shade onto the brush. That way, you know, I'll be able to spread it a whole lot more. And as you can see, you can begin to see the color fade in, kind of like from a yellow to an orange to that copper color. So now I'm getting ready to dip into the Saharan 2 palette, where I applied that darker brown shade. And I'm going to grab this nice little, I won't call it a foil, kind of like a sheen, nice sheen shade. I believe it's called Idea. I'm going to apply that as my eyebrow bone highlight. I don't know why that is so difficult for me to say. My eyebrow bone highlight. And you just want to work it along that eyebrow shape. And then I'm going back into that blender brush again. And I'm just making a smooth transition from the eyebrow bone highlight to that yellow. Because we don't want to have any harsh lines to this look. So I'm taking a break from my eyes and now going to the face. Right here, what I'm doing is applying my black radiance. I believe it's the Shine Control primer, and I'm applying that all over the face. And I'm getting ready to I'm also getting ready to color correct. And because we're doing a less is more look, you definitely want to color correct, because then this will help to use less foundation, because now you have a nice even canvas. And you also don't want to skip this step if you suffer from discoloration or hyperpigmentation. I'm just using my Anastasia Beverly Hills contour palette and grabbing that coral shade. I'm going to apply it to all the points. Now you may notice that on my face I already had color correct, but I applied the primer on top of it by mistake because I applied the color correct first. And now I'm applying it again because in some spots it took that coral shade away. So my bad. The foundation that I'm using is the NYX Total Control Drops. I love this. I believe this is in the shade Cocoa. And just applying the drops. I'm not using a lot. It may have seemed like a lot, but this foundation is kind of like watery, so just when you think you're applying too much, you're applying just the right amount. And usually when I'm doing a less is more type of look where I want my foundation to be very light, I apply it with a beauty sponge and I make sure that it's damp. And as you can see, it's spreading very well. I'm just basically dabbing it all over my face, making sure I have a even distribution of foundation all over my face. Now I am getting ready to apply my concealer. I'm using the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define in the shade C13. And these are just the points where I am going to spread the concealer with my concealer brush by BH Cosmetics. And I've learned to love spreading the concealer with a brush, because I noticed when I was doing it with a sponge, it was kind of like, I don't know, I wanted the concealer to be more noticeable to give me a more highlighted look. So that's why now I use a brush and I'm just spraying it under the eye, down, kind of like covering. Basically the point you want to apply the concealer where the light hits your face the most. So it normally hits in that area, down the bridge of my nose, and on the top of my forehead the most. And this just gives you a nice awakened look. And also while you're at it, you can go ahead and clean up the sides of your eye look with that concealer also. But again, be careful. And this shape that I'm giving to the eye look just gives you a nice little catty eye type of action. And with this concealer, you definitely want to work quickly because it does dry down very quick. So the minute that you apply the concealer, you can't play, you can't mess around. I'm not talking while doing this because, like I said, it will dry. Like I said, if you would like to see my my full face routine, I will link it in the description box below. I did everything. I set my concealer, did my contouring, my highlight, and my blush, and I'll link everything that I used down in the description box below also. And just finishing the rest of my eye. So all the shades that I apply up top is going down below. The only shade that's not is the darkish brown shade. Right now I'm just applying that yellow under the copper shade. Now, time for the lips. I am now using my Wet n Wild Color Kohl pencil in the shade Simma Brown to line my lips. And you kind of want to like press your lips together. That way you get a nice clean line, because if you have trouble like me, you have to make sure your lip is kind of stretched where you want to put the liner at. That way it won't be messy. You get a nice neat line. Next, I am using my ColourPop. I know it's my ColourPop. I believe it's the Ultra Satin lip. And I'll put what shade or what color I'm using. I'm applying that to the lip also. And now I'm just using my Real Techniques lip brush. And I am just smudging that brown lip pencil into the satin lip. And this just allows for it to be appropriate for brown girls, as you can see. And I think it looks nice and it goes with the look, give you a nice sun-kissed type of look. And as you can see, it's now fading into that nice coral shade into the brown. I decided to add a little gloss because I just was feeling glossy that day, and this is just the Black Radiance lip gloss, and just keeping it at the center of my lip. And yeah, that's it. This is the overall look. See, brown girls can rock color too, right? So when I say less is more, that means less foundation, concealer. Instead of baking, you just want to do a quick patting the setting powder into the concealer, and just less everything, less contour, less everything, less blush. That way you won't feel all cakey and your face won't feel so heavy. The reason why I applied the foundation in with a beauty sponge instead of the brush what I typically use is because it gives it a nice sheer finish. And as you can see, once I did the color correcting, then applied the foundation, it allowed for me to have to use less product as possible. So feel free to try that trick, and I hope it works out for you. This is the final look. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I have. If so, feel free to hit the thumbs up button, and while you're at it, click the bell so you don't miss any future uploads from me. If you are new to my channel, feel free to subscribe. And this is your girl Qui, wishing you lots of peace and love. Bye.